Good morning, everybody, and Hari Om. I feel extremely proud and privileged to be here on this platform this morning because I have been giving talks on neurosurgical fronts around the world, talking about how to do brain operations and things like that most of the times. I am extremely thankful to Alkatai for her kind words of introduction. And really, since we got introduced to each other, I really felt connected to her at a very different level. And as we were having breakfast, I just told her that there is so much to learn from her that I should come and meet her in person, specially to be able to learn about life skills. Because friends and sadhaks, life has many, many things to offer, much beyond the material achievements, which unfortunately is the goal of majority. They are seriously mistaken that in search of peace and happiness, they mistake the goal to material achievements. In last decade, in particular, we have seen that we have progressed a lot. We have tremendous amount of developments in the field of technology, artificial intelligence, drones, quantum computing, nanotechnology. We have reached not only the moon, but we have reached the Mars. But what is the other side of the coin? The other side of the coin is the World Happiness Report, the latest report published in 2024, shows that the rank of India is 126 amongst 193 countries in the world. India, our India, rich in cultural heritage. The India which gives the message to the world, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya. We are ranked at 126. What could be the reason, friends? Is it because we have drifted away from our own heritage? Is it because we have forgotten the yogic principles laid down by Mahamuni Patanjali, taught to us several centuries ago? Have we lost the pride in our own cultural heritage? See, a few years back, I was at the Incheon airport. Incidentally, this airport has been ranked the best airport in the world for consecutive 3 years. I was in Korea to present my work at the World Stroke Conference, and I was surprised to see that in every single hotel in Korea, they have a Korean cultural center to introduce yourself with the Korean heritage. Incheon Airport has got about 7,000 square feet area to show how rich their culture is. And mind you, in stark contrast to the experiences in most of the other airports where people talk only about business, here you are encouraged to visit that center with great eagerness on the part of the airport authorities. As Alkatai said, we need endorsement from the so-called modern science to our own ancient wisdom, which I strongly feel was and will be much beyond the so-called modern science. See, I have been teaching in medical colleges, and I talk to students and I tell them that once you become MBBS, you feel that you have become master of everything in the body, from head to toe. You can treat everything on this earth. When you become specialized, you feel further that, you have become an orthopedic surgeon, so you know everything about bones and joints. You are highly specialized. When you become super specialist, you start understanding how little you know about one single organ in the body. May it be heart, may it be brain, and so on. But yes, as the convention goes, for times to come, we need endorsement from the so-called modern sciences. To give you a small example, there is something called as dorsal column stimulation, an established recent surgery for patients in terminal coma. The principle is electrodes are surgically implanted in the epidural and subdural spaces. These electrodes are connected to radio frequency transducers, and they keep stimulating from below upwards, and then large number of patients get significant amount of improvement and they come out of coma. To be very precise, it is 53 to 57% patients have come out of coma, and lots of people travel to Japan for learning this technique of dorsal column stimulation surgery. When I met Professor Tetsu Kano, who was the chairperson, he unfortunately passed away, of Fujita Health University, who popularized this kind of surgery, I just asked him that how he got the idea that coma, a brain problem, can be cured by stimulation in the spinal cord. The answer given by him fascinated me the most. He said that some Japanese students were trained in India and yoga, and they told him the idea of 7 chakras in human body, and then he just started thinking as to what would happen if the Kundalini can go up from Muladhara to Swadhisthana to Manipur, and so on up to Sahasradhara chakra. Why can't he stimulate the spinal cord and the dorsal roots? And then the journey began with experimental animal studies and so on. There is a recent paper published in the Journal of Psychophysiology which talks about the yogi masters were right. It's a publication from Global Brain Health Institute in Dublin. Shows lots of advantage of meditation. Friends, are we rediscovering what we already knew centuries ago? And what best can we do to go beyond modern sciences to be able to achieve something which is still not believable in the present framework of modern neurosciences? Lots of people are coming to India just to learn yoga, to learn original Sanskrit, to learn Upanishads, and to go abroad and publish papers from the Western world, which we try to copy. In World Yoga meetings, I have been a speaker at several platforms in World Yoga meetings, and my friends, Professor Andre Rahel in Paris, Daniel Monti from California, he's a physician, he runs a yoga institute in California. All these people come here, learn Sanskrit, learn yoga, go back and do research in a conventional framework to realize the limitations of conventional science. But here, we want evidence. Evidence for everything. Pramana. Prama karoti iti pramana. Jnyan jani milita te pramana. There has been a request from Surveji just now that I should be able to, communicate in Marathi also, because a lot of people are more conversant in Marathi. So I would blend English with Marathi. We need to understand how our brain functions and how brain governs the body, simply because brain is the most mysterious organ in the body. See, most of the organs in the body have a very specific structure which is common in everybody, and therefore there is a very, very specified function in everybody's body. We have exactly same structure of eyes and ears in all of us. So a particular picture shown to everybody, we will see exactly same color, same picture. A song heard by everybody, exactly same amplitude, same, everything same, because the structures are same. But brain, we have exactly same structure of human brain, but it functions in an entirely different way in each individual. That's why there are so many personalities. Vyakti titya prakruti apan manto na. How is it possible? How the mystery can be solved? Was this mystery solved earlier by the sages? See, the science divides brain into different lobes. Frontal lobe deals with intelligence, temporal lobe deals with emotions, occipital lobe deals with vision, and so on and so forth. But the question worth $1 million remains as to where is mind? And here, Professor Wilder Penfield writes an entire monogram which becomes very popular as to mystery of mind. Another very important point which we should notice is Professor Broca was a neuroscientist who divided brain into different parts, and he labeled them. Area number 44 deals with speech, motor speech. Wernicke's area deals with cognition, and so on and so forth. But is there anything beyond these areas? As scientific development advanced, we came to micro-neurosurgery in brain surgery. See, earlier, the brain surgery had limitations. I mean, 50 years back, everybody, used to have lots of morbidity, 3, 4, 5 days of ICU stay. Patient used to be on ventilator for a long period of time. And what is the present situation? The brain tumor surgeries I do today, and next morning the patient is out of ICU walking in the corridors. What has bring in the revolution? When we dissect the brain tumor from the normal brain around, the key is to protect the normal brain. And with 0% injury to normal brain, the patient can move around immediately after surgery because you have not damaged the normal brain at all. You have removed the tumor. This was possible because of micro-neurosurgery. We operate through the microscope with 200 to 300 times magnification. And this microsurgery has revealed a very interesting thing, that many times these brain areas keep changing in different individual. And even in the same individual, that location keep changing. How is it possible? And that's why, this is not the platform to talk about that, but we talk about awake neurosurgery now. The precise intention is to see where exactly the location of which function is and to preserve that area. Going back again to what Surveji said in his introduction, you love somebody and miracle can happen. Again, in the framework of modern sciences, this 1986 publication, Love, Medicine and Miracle by Professor Bernie Siegel, he says that if a person is loved and if a person loves everybody, then what is the result? He would not have diseases. And the treatment in different individual is directly proportional to the amount of love other people do and the amount of love this person gives the world. Earlier, we used to have physical medicine. A person has got brain tumor, we do an operation, open the skull, remove the tumor, close the skull. This is physical medicine, only at physical level. Subsequently, science realized that in spite of tremendous advances, patient asks us why the brain tumor occurs. We don't know. Where is the tumor precisely? We say get a scan done and then we'll know. After that we do operation, patient asks us whether this is a benign tumor or a malignant tumor. We say we don't know, let us wait for the histopathological report. The histopathological report comes as, say, grade 2 glioma. The patient asks now what is the survival. Again we don't know, may it be 4 months, 6 months, 1 year. Then friends, what do we know? Then that means there is something beyond the physical level which is governing all this. And this beyond physical is mind control. Yoga is all about mind control. Then we evolved from physical medicine to mind-body medicine. As you go deeper and deeper and deeper, you start feeling that who controls the mind? There is something beyond mind. And may you call it soul, may you call it spirit. Then evolved mind, body, spirit medicine. And as we, particularly Asians, are very smart in questioning, स्वर्ग असतो का, देव असतो का, हे जे प्रश्न आपल्याला मनामध्ये येतात, again the Western endorsement, as Alkatai said, Proof of Heaven by Professor Eben Alexander, a famous celebrated neurosurgeon from the New York University School of Medicine. In his introduction, he writes that a scientist, a neurosurgeon, is writing this book on his experiences of soul and heaven and how it should influence your entire system. Now science has shown that there is something called as neuroimmunomodulation. Your neurological state controls your immunity. And if your immunity is altered, then not only infective disease, but all the diseases, including autoimmune diastasis, malignancy, everything is controlled through this neuroimmune axis with some kind of an endocrine limb. So all these specialties develop, psychoneuroimmunology, neurochemistry, neuroendocrinology, and things like that. And this is the landmark paper published in 2017 which talks about an integral approach to medicine, mind, body, soul, spirit medicine. So neuromodulation would continue to progress. The journey started from 1990. These are the early papers on neuroimmunomodulation, and this is the latest last year's neuromodulation issue. Now, the next step is the origin of the disease. Many, like I gave an example of brain tumor, there are many illnesses where the origin is not known, why the disease occurs. And the modern sciences, while discovering, realize that large number of headaches and brain disorders occur because of imbalance between the right half of the brain and the left half. The right half of brain deals with emotions. The left half deals with intellectual abilities. So, if a person keeps overusing the left half without any emotions, then the balance is disturbed between the right and left. The other end of the spectrum is if you keep using only emotions without intelligence. Many a times housewives keep coming to us who are exceptionally gossiping and no intellectual work. They have hemicranialgia, migraine, ardhashishi. So this imbalance is the root cause of all this. So the real balance, if you have, then large number of diseases can be prevented. So hemispheric balance is the key. You should have intellectual performances as well as you should give some time for, the music and exercise and fitness and being near nature and so on and so forth. This particular balance, if you are able to maintain, then large number of brain disorders are avoided. What is the next step? You go deeper and deeper from organ to the tissues to the cells. And friends, we have huge number of cells in our body. We have about 50 trillion cells of 200 types in human body. Over and above, we have 50 trillion microbes living in our body. Who would be achieving the balance in all this? Even a small orchestra, which consists of 50, 60, 70, 80 people, you need a concert master. If he makes a mistake, then what happens? The whole tune changes. So who looks after the tune of our health? Who looks after the tune of our behavior? Who links everything together and maintains the balance? Similarly, if you go deeper and deeper and deeper, you realize as you study science that every cell is a factory. Mitochondria is a seat of production of energy. How this energy is channelized? The whole thing is governed by nucleus. But who controls the nucleus? What are the forces? There is some force which governs all this, which regulates all this. Just imagine a small industry with 1,000 workers. There are assistant managers, general managers, vice president, presidents. There is a ladder governing everything. So who governs this body? And friends, if our body is very well governed, we have examples in the history that this body is designed to work for years and years together. In Mahabharata war, what was the age of Arjuna? 161. What was the age of Dronacharya? 177. Bhishmacharya further senior, and at that age they were fighting war. Any small mistake, would kill you. And now look at the IT professionals or so many stressed people who come to us at the age of 30, 40, 50, 60. They land up with so many diastasis. Where things are going wrong? Why malignancies arise? Siddharth Mukherjee beautifully depicts in his monogram the song of a cell, how the cell functions, and you should be able to establish a dialogue with your own cells. If you can establish a dialogue, then you can dictate the cell to work in harmony. All harmoniously working cells can form harmoniously working tissues. Harmoniously working tissues can form harmoniously working organs, and harmoniously working organs can build a very, very healthy individual, not only as physical level, but psychological, emotional, and social level. And what does yoga teach us? Bhagavad Gita defines yoga as samatvam yoga uchyate. We used to maintain this balance, and that probably was the secret of health years ago. What is the definition of yoga? What is the etymology of the word yoga? Yoga is to connect. Yoga is to join. Yoga is to integrate. Simple things when we come for asanas. Asanas are not just postures. You need to integrate your mind with the asana. Once you master that, then you need to go further deeper. You need to integrate your soul with that mind, which is integrated with the asana and so on and so forth. This is a big topic. But yogi, the real yogi are the ones who does this. And sadhaks are the ones who are ambitious of doing it and who are progressing on the path of doing it. This yoga has nothing to do with religion or spirituality, you know. These are very, very scientific practices, irrespective of any other boundaries. When we talk about Ashtanga Yoga, we need to control first mind and then your soul. Integration is the key. I mean, Ashtanga Yoga is a topic where I can go on talking for a couple of hours. But here, as I was talking to Nilimatai, I want to touch upon many things and put it in front of you for you to think over, ponder upon. Chintan आपल्याला करता यायला पाहिजे. इकडे योगाच्या क्लासमध्ये आपण जे शिकलो ते घरी जाऊन जर आपण खोलात त्याचं चिंतन करू शकलो तर आपल्याला खूप फॅसेट्स गेट ओपनड अप, न्यू डोअर्स गेट ओपनड अप. See, basically, mind control, the fundamental thing is why thoughts arise. Here you need to think beyond science. Because see, what science teaches us, that a thought corresponds to a series of sequentially occurring neurons in the brain. One neuron fires, neurotransmitters are released in synapse, the second neuron fires, and so on and so forth. The series of sequential neurons fire, which represent one thought. But friends, the question is, what is the stimulus for the first neuron to fire? From where does the first impulse come? Does it come from somewhere outside the brain? And what is that somewhere outside? What is consciousness? What is individual consciousness? What is universal consciousness? Does yoga teach us to connect individual consciousness with universal consciousness? And so on and so forth. Pranayam. What is pran? Think about it. It is just not taking breath inside, leaving breath outside. It is much beyond inspiration and expiration. Otherwise, we would have labeled it as shwasayam, isn't it? It's a pranayam. It is not 20% nitrogen, so many percent oxygen and so on. What is prana? What is prana? What is apana, udana, samana? All those things. See, you need to go deeper and deeper if you really want to progress. There are many people who tell us that yogaचा class लावला आणि आम्हाला योग आला. You know, you should first understand the basic principle, then you start realizing that you do not know. And if you do not know that you do not know, then the whole problem starts. Ignorance is the problem. Again, going back to our fundamental things, this needs to be coupled with other aspects of spirituality. Like Alkatai said, bhakti, कर्म, ज्ञान आणि योग या चारीचा ब्लेंड झाल्याशिवाय प्रगती नाही एकात होऊ शकत. म्हणजे आपण जेवढं या खोलामध्ये जाऊ त्याचे स्क्रिप्चर्स हॅव गिवन अस अ कंप्लीट प्रोटोकॉल्स, यू नो, की वाचन, श्रवण, चिंतन, मनन आणि मग निधिध्यासन याच्यामध्ये सुद्धा ह्याचा अर्थ काय आहे, चिंतन आणि मनन ह्याच्यात काय फरक आहे याचा आपण विचार केला पाहिजे, खोल अभ्यास केला पाहिजे. नुसतं काहीतरी सुपरफिशियल वाचून आपली प्रगती नाही होणार. प्रत्याहार, getting detached from senses. How do you detach from senses? What is the way? How do you sublimate your thoughts? How do you create thought of a thought? Who is the thinker? You need to put in lot of efforts with dedication to go deeper and deeper. खूप पेशंट्स आम्हाला येऊन म्हणतात आम्ही ध्यानाला बसलो आणि ध्यान जमत नाही, पार्श्वभूमी काहीच नाही, एकदम ध्यान इज अ 7 स्टेप. यम नियम आसन प्राणायाम इज द फाउंडेशन. द रिअल जर्नी बिगिन्स फ्रॉम प्रत्याहार. प्रत्याहार, धारणा, ध्यान आणि समाधी. एकदम ध्यानाला बसला, मेडिटेशनच्या क्लासला गेला असं योग नाही शिकता येत. किंवा हे जे सो कॉल्ड सुपरफिशियल एक्सपोजर आहे, हे आपण एखादा सिनेमा बघायला जातो ना, काहीतरी बरी करमणूक झाली तसं आहे. तर योग इज मच मच बियॉन्ड दॅट. अनलेस यू अंडरस्टँड दिस, यू डोंट अंडरस्टँड युअर ओन सेल्फ. आणि आजकालच्या समाजामध्ये प्रॅक्टिस काय आहे, पीपल हॅव फॉरगॉटन दॅट इट इज मच 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 मोर इम्पॉर्टंट टू नो दायसेल्फ दॅन ट्राईंग टू बी नोन. आज कॉम्पिटिशन आहे, माझा काहीतरी करण्याचा, मी एक फोटो काढायचा, तो फेसबुकवर टाकायचा, त्याला किती लाईक आले, मग इंस्टाग्रामवर टाकायचा. There is the race to be popular, you know. If you are in all professions, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody, may it be doctors, professionals, lawyers, and the whole objective is business growth and promotion. But when are we going to learn to look within? When are we going to transcend this hunger, this desperation to be popular. Unless you go deeper and deeper, you don't know anything. And if you go deeper in yoga, then you start realizing much more about the world, outer world as well as inner world. And initially, the traditional teaching in spirituality is a three-pronged platform, as we call it, From three, you go to two. Prakriti and Purush are the two. Three are Jiva Jagat Ishwar. And final is Aham Brahmasmi, unification of individual consciousness with the consciousness around the whole universe. Now, the functioning of the brain, and again coming back to yoga, how yoga operates, the whole brain runs in the form of electromagnetic waves. When I want to lift up my hand, electric current is generated, it travels down my spinal cord, nerves and muscles, they contract and the movement takes place. So on the surface of brain, we have multiple electric currents, and electroencephalography is the modality of mapping various types of currents depending on their frequency, amplitude and so many subtle qualities. There are alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta waves, and there have been enough scientific evidence that we have interpretation of human brain activity using modern machine learning during yoga. It helps tremendously. Even while Omkar chanting, we just chanted Omkar in the beginning, different ways of Omkar chanting, even Vaikhari, Akaranta Omkar has different consequences, Ukaranta Omkar has different consequences. Azar Lambola, and Ma Lambola, so there are different changes in the brain. Plut Omkar, Nyuk Omkar, these have very different kind of electrostatic but dynamic changes in the brain are achieved, and there are many research publications. Finally, it is for the benefit of each and every sadhaka. This is the publication in International Journal of Yoga which talk about the changes in neurochemistry, the classical dopamine and serotonin balance in the brain, which decides the degree of happiness, mood stability and so on. Leave aside the physical level, cardiorespiratory health, musculoskeletal health and so on and so forth. Specific pranayam, say Kapalbhati pranayam, the neurological effects of Kapalbhati pranayam. Just to touch upon some illnesses, I would take you through few slides which talk about the practicality of yoga in treating various neurological disorders, since the theme of the conference is yoga in neurological disorder. Epilepsy is because of development of extra abnormal unwanted currents on the brain surface. They come down to the muscles, they fail to realize that these are unwanted currents. They perceive it as normal brain orders and the muscles start twitching. This is called as generalized tonic-clonic seizure. There is frothing of mouth and the person has so many consequences. Yoga, meditation, pranayam has tremendous effect on stability of brain currents, and naturally patients with epilepsy, their dose significantly comes down. From higher anti-epileptic medicines, we can go to lower anti-epileptic medicines which are with lesser side effects and which are much, much safer for the patient. We have been doing a lot of work on epilepsy and yoga, and this was one of my early publications 20 long years back, which I presented in France. Influence of traditional yoga and pranayam therapy in the management of patients with epilepsy. The conclusion was that it has got significant positive outcome in the treatment of epilepsy. As Nilimatai mentioned in the introduction, we have one of the largest self-help groups for patients with epilepsy named Shwas. This is the long form of Shwas. S for social rehabilitation, H for health education, W for work guidance and support group. This support group, we give a 360-degree approach to patients with epilepsy, much beyond the medicines for cure of epilepsy. Aging and yoga. As I talked about Arjuna, Dronacharya, Bhishmacharya, telomerase is very important enzyme, the levels of which decide aging. I don't want to go into the genetics and epigenetics of that, but there is a positive influence of yoga on aging, and if you keep regularly doing yoga, then the aging is avoided, delayed, and even it can be reversed. Hippocampus, which is a vital part in the brain, the hippocampal thickness has significantly improved with 6 months yoga practices, as has been depicted in this particular research paper, can things change? Can the brain cortex get reorganized? As I just said, that the Broca's area and different areas also move within the brain. Classical research by Skonlich in traumatic brain injury. See, if a significant portion of the brain is injured during road accidents, then we know that the surrounding part of the brain can take over the function of this part. This is neuroplasticity. And this has been proven with so many research publications. This is a positive news that if neuroplasticity can change the injured brain, then even normal brain with injured emotions also can be changed. The brain can be rewired. Because, friends, our brain has a very, very complex system, like an industry. We in industry keep talking about the flow of material, material management is a science by itself. Raw material comes, industry processes it, and the ready products go in the market. Then there is distribution chain and things like that. There are hundreds of examples I can give you about the machinery involved in brain. Tyrosine is an amino acid which is extremely essential in production of noradrenaline and serotonin. Milk and curd is rich in tyrosine. So if we have deficient diet, then there is deficiency of tyrosine. Deficiency of tyrosine can result into reduction in the quantity of manufactured neurochemicals and neurotransmitters, and that can have consequent influence on your behavior and so many other aspects. So this kind of brain recycling systems, we have a very elaborate assembly lines in the brain where the worn out proteins are replaced and upgraded by new vibrant proteins in the brain. And these assembly lines, these recycling mechanisms within the neuron has tremendous influence by yogic practices and meditation. Again, scientifically proven by this landmark book by Dodge that brain can change itself. The brain is soft wired and lots of things can happen on this front. Another group of illnesses is brain stroke. The blood vessels which supply blood to the brain, there are two types. If the vessel ruptures and there is bleeding within the brain, that is hemorrhagic stroke. And if the blood vessel is blocked, a part of the brain dies because of lack of oxygen, and that is ischemic stroke. Both these are benefited by yogic practices. How and at what level? Prevention of stroke pranayama, adequate blood circulation, adequate oxygenation, adequate cleaning up of free radicals in the neuron, and no stroke. Stroke rehabilitation, posture, balance, dhyana, emotionality, emotional support and neuropsychological rehabilitation of stroke patient, and neurobics for improving life quality. I mean, on stroke platforms, we can go on role of yoga in stroke for a full 1 hour. But as I said, I just want to touch upon few things and you can go into the further details. Yoga in multiple sclerosis, meta-analysis of 1,000 plus individuals, several studies, tremendously useful. Yoga in Parkinson's, tremendous improvement in maintenance balance, improvement in gait, confidence level in activities, benefits in winning over the comorbidities, and final goal, improvement in lifestyle. Anxiety, stability of emotions. Many publications where Kundalini Yoga can help. Why only anxiety in subtle way? Even established psychiatric diathesis like schizophrenia. Several research papers published in last decade. Dr. Shubhangi Parkar is going to fully talk on this, so let me not further elaborate. Yoga Nidra, huge subject for stability of mind, stability of soul behind the mind, on how the governance of your body can be controlled by the adequate degree of relaxation with Yoga Nidra. How to do it, what are the pitfalls, what are the problems, a lot to talk about Yoga Nidra also. Another group of diathesis is spinal problems. The vertebral column is so beautifully designed that 100 years your vertebral column should not have any problem at all. But what do we find in day-to-day practice? Large number of youngsters come with prolapsed intervertebral disc. They undergo surgery, then stabilization by pedicular screws, dynamic compression platings and things like that. Modern sciences have latest approaches like endoscopic surgery of the spine, which super selectively takes out the prolapsed part of the disc and avoids trauma to the surrounding nerve roots. But what does the latest research show? That latest research show that much more important than bones and cartilage and disc is the strength of the muscles. And if that is the conclusion of modern science after so many research works and meta-analytical study, what does this poster here on Surya Namaskara teach us? Every single Surya Namaskara poses is one asana. If you do it properly, if you do with adequate amount of training, adequate amount of time, adequate amount of peace of mind, adequate amount of commitment, and adequate amount of integration of mind. घाईघाईनी मुलांना 12 सूर्यनमस्कार घाल म्हणून आई वडिलांनी सांगितलं की कसे 12 होत आहेत, घातले रे घातले. ऑब्व्हियसली तोटा होत नाही जनरली, पण फायदा किती होईल? 2%, 4%, 5%. सूर्यनमस्कार इज मच बियॉन्ड दॅट. ह्याच्या खोलामध्ये आपण जायची गरज आहे. Why only these many diastasis? N number of diastasis like rheumatism. We have patients with rheumatoid facet arthropathy. No need of surgery at all. Cancer, asthma, cardiac arrhythmias. You can do so many bypass and so many latest techniques about wall replacement and other things. But what is the best way out for arrhythmias? How do arrhythmias begin? You know, हे चिंतन जे आहे ना, हे चिंतन आपलं आयुष्य बदलून टाकेल. आणि अदरवाईज मग कोलेस्ट्रॉलसाठी आपण स्टॅटिन्स घ्यायची का, कुठलं स्टॅटिन चांगलं, कंपॅरेटिव्ह स्टडीज बिटवीन अटोरवास्टॅटिन अँड रुजुवास्टॅटिन अँड ऑल दिस नॉनसेन्स डिस्कशन गो ऑन. पण आपण याच्या पलीकडे काही करू शकू का? म्हणजे माय पॉईंट टू अंडरलाईन हिअर इज गोईंग बियॉन्ड न्यूरोसायन्सेस इन योगा. मेनी नंबर ऑफ problems with inflammation. Inflammation in the body is responsible for stroke. Inflammation is finally responsible for everything. So this kind of a subclinical inflammation, there is a significant reduction in inflammatory markers, the indicator of genuine health by yoga practices with this latest study. A hint of caution for our yoga therapist. As I learned that you have many yoga therapists also, yoga is an excellent technique to treat many illnesses. But I would like to give you a word of caution. There is a difference between yoga teacher and a yoga therapist. सगळ्यांना योगाचे कोर्सेस झाले, योग प्रवेश झाला की असं वाटायला लागतं खूप आलं, योग प्रवीण झाला की तर असं वाटायला लागतं सगळंच जगातलं मला यायला लागलं. तसं नाही आहे. With inadequate knowledge, you should not harm the patient. Choice of patient is extremely essential. Choice of therapy is extremely essential. You should be in a position to establish a dialogue with the clinician who is treating the patient to design protocols and then abide yogic protocols for treating a particular illness. Yogic therapy in majority of the cases have got adjuvant role and not curative. माझ्या ब्रेन ट्यूमरच्या पेशंटला सांगून टाकतात आपण योगा करून बघू, बरं झालं तर बघू, नाहीतर मग सरांकडून ऑपरेशन करा. ब्रेन ट्यूमर योगा थेरपीने बराच नाही होणार. ऑफकोर्स यू हॅव मेनी थिंग्स टू ऑफर फॉर दिस, पण नुकसान व्हायला नको. आय जस्ट गेव एन एक्झाम्पल ऑफ रुमॅटॉइड फॅसेटल ऑर्थोपॅथी, फॅसेटल फ्रॅक्चर्स. त्याच्यासाठी योगा करून उपयोगच नाही आहे. इन्स्टेबल स्पाईन असेल त्याला स्टेबिलिटीसाठी सर्जरीज करावी लागेल. पण या सगळ्या गोष्टीचा पोच म्हणतात ना, तो योगा थेरपिस्टनं पाहिजे. म्हणजे मग योगा थेरपिस्ट बदनाम होणार नाही. कोणाच्या तरी चुकीमुळे त्यांनी योगा थेरपिस्ट केली आणि त्याचा आजार वाढला असं जे पेशंटकडून ऐकायला येतं तसं यायला नको. हा वर्ड ऑफ कॉशन मला द्यायचा होता तुम्हाला. इंटिग्रल हेल्थ, मगाशी अलकाताई म्हणल्या वेगवेगळ्या योगाचे प्रकार. देयर इज अ कन्सेप्ट ऑफ इंटिग्रल योगा नाव. इंटिग्रल योगा म्हणजे 360 डिग्री ह्या सगळ्याची सांगड घालून केलेला योगा, which leads to physical, mental, social, spiritual well-being. See, physical, mental हे सगळं आतलं आहे. पण बाहेरून जर आपण समाज नीट चांगला राहिला नाही तर याचा काय उपयोग आहे? या सगळ्याचा नाही उपयोग. कारण शेवटी तुम्हाला समाजात राहायचं आहे. द व्हेरी फ्यू की आपण भगवी वस्त्र घालून हिमालयात नाही जाऊ शकणार लगेच. वी हॅव टू डू थिंग्स नाऊ अँड हिअर इन दिस सराउंडिंग. मेनी पीपल फील दॅट द वर्ल्ड अराउंड देम इज बॅड, की माझ्याच वाट्याला वाईट माणसं येतात हो, त्याच्यामुळे माझी सगळी शांती मी योगानी करतो ती डिस्टर्ब होऊन जाते क्षणार्धात. माझ्या ऑफिसमधली माणसं चांगली नाही, माझ्या घरातली माणसं चांगली नाही, सगळंच चांगलं नाही. सो यू नीड टू चेंज द वे यू लुक ॲट द वर्ल्ड. आणि द अप्रोच इज फ्रॉम इनसाइड आउट. हा अप्रोच जर योगामुळे डेव्हलप झाला तर आय थिंक वी हॅव अचीव्ड अ लॉट. आय टेल यू अ स्मॉल स्टोरी. वडिलांनी मुलाला जगाचा नकाशा आणून दिला. ते तुकडे तुकडे करून कार्डबोर्ड जोडतात ना, आणि त्याला सांगितलं की हा नकाशा जोड, म्हणजे 2 तास तरी मुलगा चांगल्या विचारात राहील. त्याला काही जगातले सगळे बारीक देश माहिती नव्हते. त्यांनी जादूसारखं 2 मिनिटात तो नकाशा जोडून वडिलांकडे आणला. तर वडील म्हणले की अरे इतक्या पटकन तू कसं केलं. त्यांनी सांगितलं त्याच्या मागच्या बाजूला माणसांची चित्र होती, हातात हात घातलेल्या. फ्रेंड्स, इफ वी कॅन कनेक्ट ह्युमन बिईंग्स, वी कॅन कनेक्ट द वर्ल्ड. दिस इज द मेसेज ऑफ योगा. पण मग आपण का कनेक्ट होऊ शकत नाही? वेअर थिंग्स गो रॉंग ते आपण बघितलं पाहिजे. जसं आपण इटिओपॅथॉलॉजी बघतो कुठल्याही आजाराची, की आजार का होतो, तो मुळाशी नायनाट त्याचा केला पाहिजे. तसं एक म्हणजे लोभ, आपण जे म्हणतो ना षडरिपू, काम, क्रोध, मद, मोह, मत्सर, लोभ, ह्याच्यावर आपल्याला जर विजय मिळवता आला नाही तर पुढची प्रगती होऊच शकणार नाही. कारण ते काही एक टाकणं टाकल्यासारखं काम करून टाकायचं नाही आहे की मी आता मेडिटेशनला बसलो 10 मिनटं आणि तोपर्यंत घरातली बायको नवरा काय जे बडबडले ते सगळं रजिस्टर होतं आहे. थांबच, माझी 5 मिनटं होऊ दे मेडिटेशनची, झाली की मग दाखवतो तुला. So this meditation has no meaning. You really need to genuinely withdraw from senses and give maximum possible importance beyond everything else in your life for building up relationship. परफेक्ट रिलेशनशिपमध्ये नेहमी असं आपण लक्षात घ्यायला पाहिजे की परफेक्ट रिलेशनशिप म्हणजे असं काही नाही की कधी कोणाशी भांडणच होणार नाही. व्यक्ती तेवढा प्रकृती, वेगवेगळी मतं असणार, मतभेद होणार, पण ते किती वाढवायचे, लवकर कसे विसरायचे, हे जर तुम्ही शिकलात तर तुम्ही बेटर रिलेशनशिप बिल्ड करू शकाल. कारण रिलेशनशिप एकदम डिस्ट्रॉय पण होत नाहीत. आणि म्हणजे देर इज अ फेमस सेईंग विच आय वुड शो यू की दे आर डिस्ट्रॉईड, दे आर मर्डर्ड बाय इगो, ॲटिट्यूड अँड इग्नरन्स. खूप वेळा काय होतं, रिलेशनशिप एका दिवसात इव्हॉल्व होत नाहीत. आपण रोज झाडाला खतपाणी घातल्याशिवाय जसं झाड वाढत नाही, तसं रिलेशनशिप एखाद्याशी आपलं काहीतरी काम आहे, चला त्याच्याशी कोणाची तरी ओळख काढू बरं का, आणि मग एकदम तू आणि मी म्हणजे एकदम जवळचेच 50 वर्षापासून, असं होत नाही. इट्स लाईक अ ग्रॅज्युअली इव्हॉल्विंग प्रोसेस. आपण जसं चित्र काढतो ना मुलं, की आधी एक डोंगर काढतो, मग एक छोटासा सूर्य काढतो ते उगवताना, मग छोटे पक्षी काढतो त्याच्या मागे, मग एक नदी काढतो, त्या नदीमध्ये होडी काढतो, मग नावाडी काढतो, मग वल्ल काढतो वल्लवताना. ग्रॅज्युअली ते इव्हॉल्व व्हायला पाहिजे चित्र. आणि हे बघताना आपण असं बघितलं पाहिजे की जवळ ठेवलेली काळ्या शाईची दौत चुकून धक्का लागून त्याच्यावर सांडून जायला नको, नाही तर सगळे एफर्ट्स वाया जातात. तसं तुम्ही इतके दिवस जोपासलेल्या रिलेशनशिप एखाद्या छोट्याशा गैरसमजामुळे, छोट्याशा भांडणामुळे बघूनच घेतो तुला आता, हे जे आहे ना, इथे मग तुमचा कंट्रोल महत्त्वाचा आहे, इथे योगा महत्त्वाचा आहे, इथे प्रत्याहार महत्त्वाचा आहे, आणि इथे धारणा महत्त्वाची आहे. ऑल दिस मॅटर्स. आणि अधिष्ठान महत्त्वाचं आहे. भगवद्गीतेमध्ये सांगितलं आहे 18व्या अध्यायात, अधिष्ठानमच्या यथा करता, सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचं अधिष्ठान आहे. मी कशासाठी कुठलीही गोष्ट करतोय याच्याबद्दल क्लॅरिटी पाहिजे. आजकाल सो कॉल्ड, मी आत्ता रोटरी क्लबच्या एका प्लॅटफॉर्मवर मला बोलावलं होतं बोर्ड ऑफ गव्हर्नर्सच्या इन्स्टॉलेशनला चीफ गेस्ट म्हणून. तिकडे मी तेच सांगितलं की आपण जेव्हा एखादी देणगी देतो, आपण कोणाला तरी काहीतरी देतो, मदत करतो, तेव्हा त्याच्यामागचं अधिष्ठान आहे खरं त्या माणसाला मदत करायचं पाहिजे, ना की मी 1 लाखाचा चेक दिला आणि लगेच माझा फोटो काढून मी केवढा रिच आहे की बघा मी 1 लाखाचा चेक देऊ शकलो. डझंट मेक सेन्स. एका हाताने दिलेलं दान दुसऱ्या हाताला जो कळू देत नाही ते खरं दान आहे. आपल्या बृहदारण्यक उपनिषदामध्ये यज्ञ, दान, तप याचं महत्त्व सांगितलं आहे. तर प्रत्येक गोष्टीचं फाउंडेशन शेवटी योग आहे. तुम्हाला योगाची बैठक असल्याशिवाय नाही तसं होणार. मी, माझा स्वार्थ, मगाशी आपण म्हटलं तसं हा इगो सगळ्याच्या मध्ये येतो, आणि ईश्वर प्रसाद बुद्धी, ईश्वरार्पण भावना सगळ्या कर्माच्या सिद्धांताप्रमाणे, आणि ईश्वर प्रणिधान हेच आपल्याला यमनियमामध्ये शिकवलं जातं. आणि यमनियमच खोटे असतात, म्हणून मग पुढचं सगळं प्रगती जमत नाही. मी मगाशी म्हटलं एकदा ध्यानाला बसतात तसं दुसऱ्याला सांगताना स्वतः ते आचरणात आणल्याशिवाय. मगाशी सुर्वे सरांबद्दल आम्ही शेजारी बसून बोलत होतो, तेव्हा आपण संस्कार जे करतो, वडिलांनी जर हातात दारूचा ग्लास आणि दुसऱ्या हातात सिगरेट घेऊन मुलाला शिकवलं, चल मी तुझ्यावर संस्कार करतो, आता दारू पिणं वाईट आहे, सिगरेट पिणं वाईट आहे, होणार नाही. तसं इट हॅज टू बी फ्रॉम विदिन. मुद्दाम बसून गोष्टी होत नसतात, त्या आपोआप घडत असतात. यू नीड टू कनेक्ट विथ पीपल अराउंड यू. मी आत्ता दानाचं म्हटलं, देणगी खरंच द्यायची असेल तर द्या. शो करण्यासाठी देणगी नाही दिली, तुमचे पैसे तुमच्याकडे ठेवले तरीसुद्धा काही फरक पडणार नाही. पण दुसऱ्या माणसाला आपला उपयोग कसा होईल कुठल्याही पद्धतीने, कुठल्याही रूपाने, हे आपण जर बघितलं तर यू हॅव अ बेटर कनेक्ट विथ द सोसायटी. आणि तो कनेक्टच तुम्हाला खरा फुलफिलमेंट आणि खरा योगाचा अर्थ समजावून सांगेल. कारण तुम्ही सो कॉल्ड किती मोठे होता, म्हणजे मी बऱ्याच प्लॅटफॉर्मवर बोलतो तेव्हा मी हे सांगतो की पहिल्यांदा यू आर नॉट इन अ पोझिशन टू हेल्प एनीबडी. वन्स यू ग्रो टू बिगर हाईट्स, तेव्हा यू आर इन अ पोझिशन टू हेल्प अदर्स. आणि तेव्हाच तुमचं नुकतं चुकतं असं की तुम्ही आणखी आणखी मोठे व्हायचा प्रयत्न करता, दुसऱ्याच्या याच्यावर म्हणतात तसं इग्नोर करून इंटरेस्ट. पण तेव्हा आपण एक लक्षात ठेवलं पाहिजे की तुम्ही कितीही मोठे झालात, तुम्ही कितीही उंच झालात, तरी लोकांना खूप उंच आकाशात गेलेलं नारळाचं झाड आवडेल का हाताने पटकन आंबा तोडून गोड आंब्याची फळं खायला आवडेल, हे लक्षात ठेवायला पाहिजे. त्याच्यामुळे इट इज नाईस टू बी इम्पॉर्टंट, बट इट इज मच मोर इम्पॉर्टंट टू बी नाईस. आणि मगाशी मी म्हटलं तसं याच्यातला प्रमुख अडथळा म्हणजे मी खूप छान आहे, मी खूप ग्रेट आहे, पण माझ्या आजूबाजूची लोकच चांगली नाही आहेत. तुमचं जग बदलणार नाही, तुमच्या ऑफिसमधले इतर सगळे बदलणार नाही, सबऑर्डिनेट्स बदलणार नाहीत, तुमचे बॉसेस बदलणार नाहीत. बदलायची गरज आहे, ते तुम्हाला बदलायची गरज आहे. आणि आपल्या स्क्रिप्चर्स आपल्याला तेच शिकवतात. ईशावास्य उपनिषदामधली जी ओपनिंग व्हर्स आहे, ईशावास्यम इदम सर्वम यत् किंचित जगत्यान जगत, प्रत्येक माणसाच्या मनामधला देव आहे, तुमच्याही आत देव आहे. त्या देवाला जर तुम्ही कनेक्ट झाला तर आपोआपच प्रेम वाटेल, आपोआपच क्षमाभाव होईल, आपोआपच माझ्याकडे 4 पैसे आहेत, मी कोणाला देईन, मला काहीतरी करावंसं वाटेल. पण तो कनेक्ट सोल टू सोल रिलेशनशिप बिल्डअप व्हायला पाहिजे. मग हे का होत नाही? आपली दृष्टी बदलत नाही. दृष्टी बदलणं खरंच शक्य आहे का? तेच ऑफिस, तीच माणसं, आणि त्या सगळ्यांना छान कसं म्हणायचं? ही सगळी तर वाईट आहेत, हे मला माहिती आहे. मग मी प्रत्याहाराकडून धारणाकडे कसं जाणार? धारणाकडून त्या गोष्टीचं ध्यान कसं करणार? तर याच्यासाठी ज्ञानाची गरज आहे. म्हणजे मगाशी मी म्हटलं तसं कर्म, भक्ती, ज्ञान आणि योग या सगळ्याचा समुच्चय आपली खरी प्रगती करेल. एक छोटंसं उदाहरण देतो मी. आपण लहान असताना गच्चीवर जातो, सूर्योदय बघतो. सूर्य पूर्वेला उगवला, पश्चिमेला मावळला. आपण म्हणतो सूर्य पूर्वेकडून पश्चिमेकडे चालला आहे, बरोबर आहे की नाही? आपण थोडेसे मोठे होतो, वरच्या वर्गात गेल्यावर आपल्याला कळतं की अरे नाही, सूर्य स्थिर आहे, पृथ्वी फिरती आहे. आपण नॉलेजेबल झालो, आपण मोठे झालो. आणखी मोठे होतो, आपल्याला काय कळतं की सूर्य पण स्थिर नाही आहे, पृथ्वी पण स्थिर नाही आहे, आपल्या आकाशगंगा स्थिर आहे आणि हे दोन्ही फिरतायत. आणखीन पुढे रिसर्च झाला की आपल्याला काय कळतं? आकाशगंगा पण स्थिर नाही आहे, आकाशगंगा पण फिरतात. आणखी पुढे मग ब्लॅक होल फिजिक्स, पार्टिकल फिजिक्स, क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्स, खूप मोठा समुद्र आहे. सो एवढ्या ज्ञानानंतर आपण पुन्हा गच्चीत गेल्यानंतर सूर्य तोच आहे, पूर्वेलाच तो उगवणार आहे, पश्चिमेलाच तो मावळणार आहे, पण आपली दृष्टी बदलली आहे तिकडे बघायची. मग आपण म्हणत नाही की सूर्य इकडून तिकडे गेला. तसंच आपण दुसऱ्यातला गॉड ओळखायला शिकलं पाहिजे. आणि आणखीन एक महत्त्वाचा मुद्दा म्हणजे खूप वेळा स्पिरिच्युअलिटी, फिलॉसॉफी, मी हल्ली मेडिकल कॉलेजेसमध्ये आपण टॉक्सना सांगतो की इट हॅज टू बी नाऊ अँड हिअर. यंगस्टर्सना असं वाटतं ना की हे सगळं रिटायरमेंट नंतर करायची गोष्ट आहे, तुम्हाला भरपूर वेळ असतो म्हणून तुम्ही हे करता. आय एम सो बिझी की मला वेळच नाही आहे सगळं करायला. याच्यामध्ये अभिमान वाटतोय लोकांना. पण मला असं विचारायचं आहे की या सगळ्या गोष्टींमधल्या प्रगती साधलेली जी मोठी लोकं आहेत, ज्ञानेश्वरांचं वय किती होतं, महामुनी पतंजलींचं वय किती होतं, रामदास स्वामींचं वय किती होतं, आणि ह्याला आपण आज सुरुवात केली पाहिजे लवकरात लवकर खऱ्या प्रगतीला. म्हणजे योगाचा क्लास लावणं इज अ फर्स्ट स्टेप. खरी प्रगती तिथून म्हणजे जर्नी ऑफ 1000 माइल्स बिगिन विथ अ सिंगल स्टेप. सुरुवात तिथून व्हायला पाहिजे. आणि याचं महत्त्व कधी कळतं, ह्याच्यासाठी मी एक तुम्हाला उदाहरण देतो. एक रँडी पाउच म्हणून ही वॉज अ प्रोफेसर ॲट कार्नेज मेलन युनिव्हर्सिटी. आणि द ट्रेडिशन ऑफ कार्नेज मेलन युनिव्हर्सिटी इज सच दॅट आफ्टर रिटायरमेंट the person is called to give a last lecture in the central auditorium of Carnegie Mellon, and all discipline, all faculties are invited for his last lecture after retirement, because there is nothing related to physics, chemistry, biology or anything. It is related to life skills, what he learned over the years till he got retired, जे की मी अलकाताई तुमच्याकडे शिकायला येणार आहे with your rich experience. So this Randy Pauch was diagnosed to have हेपॅटोबिलियरी कॅन्सर. एक अतिशय वाईट प्रकारचा कॅन्सर होतो. आणि तो कॅन्सरनी माणूस 1 वर्षापर्यंतच फक्त जगणार असतो. सो रँडी पाउच रेसिग्नेटेड अँड ही वेंट बॅक टू हिज विलेज. ही गेट्स अन इन्व्हिटेशन फ्रॉम कार्नेज मेलन टू गिव्ह अ लास्ट लेक्चर. हिज वाईफ सेज की आता म्हणजे म्हणजे एवढे दिवस कमी राहिले, कुठे लास्ट लेक्चर द्यायला जातोस? पण ही सेड नो, आय विल गिव्ह. अँड हिज ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट इज की आय एम द यंगेस्ट इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ कार्नेज मेलन टू गिव्ह लास्ट लेक्चर. कारण सगळ्यांनी 58-60व्या वर्षी रिटायरमेंट नंतर ती लेक्चर्स दिली आहेत. रँडी पाउच सेज दॅट आय हॅव नथिंग मच टू शेअर विथ यू. पण कॅन्सरचं डायग्नोसिस झाल्यानंतर मी गेल्या 6 महिन्यात जे शिकलो ते मी तुम्हाला शेअर करणार आहे. आणि स्टील इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ कार्नेज मेलन इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट बिलव्ड लास्ट लेक्चर डिलिव्हर्ड अबाउट लाईफ स्किल्स. सो दीज थिंग्स मॅटर अ लॉट. कधी कोणाला कॅन्सर होईल हे माहीत नाही, कधी कोणाचं आयुष्य किती मोठं माहीत नाही. आजचा सोन्यासारखा दिवस आपला आहे, पण आपण सगळ्या गोष्टी पोस्टपोन करतो. आणि या सगळ्या गोष्टी समजायला, या सगळ्याची आवश्यकता आपल्याला मनापासून वाटायला, कळायला आपल्याला कॅन्सर व्हावा लागतो का? आपल्याला ब्रेन इमरेज व्हावं लागतं का? सो मला असं वाटतं की हा जो जर्नी आहे हा लवकरात लवकर आपण जर आपल्या मनापासून सुरू केला तर वी कॅन बी अ बेटर इंडिव्हिज्युअल. बेटर इंडिव्हिज्युअल्स विल फॉर्म बेटर फॅमिलीज. आज घटस्फोटाचं प्रमाण शेकडो पट वाढलेलं आहे. आय एम ऑन द नॅशनल लॉ युनिव्हर्सिटी ॲडवायझरी बोर्ड आणि त्याची सुरुवात झाली. वी स्टार्टेड एन एक्झिक्युटिव्ह कोर्स ऑन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रेझोल्युशन. कारण इंडियन लॉ युनिव्हर्सिटीजमध्ये तसा कोर्सच नव्हता. आणि फॅमिली कोर्टची स्थापना झाल्यानंतर जेव्हा दोघांना समोर बसवून काउन्सिल केलं जायचं, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 सेशन्स व्हायची की 5-7 वर्षाचं मूल आहे त्याच्या भविष्याकडे बघा, कशाला डायव्होर्स घेता, त्याचं काय होणार? तेव्हा दोघं हो म्हणायचे, सह्या करायचे, घरी जायचे. 6 महिन्यांनी भांडण झालं की फ्रेश पिटिशन. नंबर ऑफ केसेस सेम झाल्या. त्यावेळी आपल्या ज्युडिशियरीला, आपल्या ॲडव्होकसीला काही याचं ट्रेनिंग आहे का याचा विचार जेव्हा झाला तेव्हा पहिला एक्झिक्युटिव्ह कोर्स सुरू झाला. सो हेल्दी फॅमिली ही याची काळाची गरज आहे आणि योगासारखं त्याला दुसरा चांगला मार्ग नाही. तर हे जर आपण केलं तर वी कॅन बी बेटर इंडिव्हिज्युअल, वी कॅन बिल्ड बेटर फॅमिलीज. बेटर फॅमिलीज वुड मेक बेटर सोसायटीज अँड बेटर सोसायटीज वुड मेक दिस वर्ल्ड अ बेटर प्लेस टू लिव्ह. तर मला असं वाटतं हा योगाचा संदेश आहे. आणि आपण अल्बर्ट आईन्स्टाईनसारख्या थोर माणसाचं हे वाक्य बघून आपण संपवू की ट्राय नॉट टू बिकम अ मॅन ऑफ सक्सेस बट रादर ट्राय टू बिकम अ मॅन ऑफ व्हॅल्यूज. अँड नथिंग मोर दॅन योगा कॅन इम्पार्ट व्हॅल्यूज. नथिंग मोर दॅन योगा कॅन नर्चर व्हॅल्यू इन इट्स ट्रू सेन्स.